My name's Steve and I love people who make things. We're a nation of inventive, inspiring makers.
This room alone will produce 100,000 items a year. But yeah, it used to be full of cows.
And then I'd be, Afghanistan or Iraq, sat in my room just sketching out designs, waiting to come home to play around with them.
I'm on a mission to list the greatest products we make, because if we don't champion the skills on our doorstep, we risk losing them.
Running down to our left, we have hand cutting. The problem is getting labour now.
One of the biggest challenges we have here is our ageing workforce.
Join me as we hear stories from behind the factory doors.
I remember drawing my dad's house and he said, "Why don't you count the bricks?"
Oh, he wanted you to be quiet, didn't he? Do you ever have any sleepless nights, Alex?
I don't sleep.
Together, let's make more makers. So welcome to the factory next door and welcome to Walthamstow in North East London. I've just come out of the tube station and in front of me, on the side of a house, is a huge mural that reads, "Welcome to the home of people who make and create." I absolutely love that. This area has a proud history as being one of the capital's manufacturing hubs. So we are on our way to meet Han, founder of Blackhorse Lane Ateliers. And that's because of Mark at Bow Hill and Elliott, who you may remember said this in episode 17. Have you got any other suggestions for what should go on the list?
From other manufacturers? I am going to say Han, Blackhorse Lane Atelier. He opened a factory in London. He's making jeans in London. That's brilliant. I like them. I really like jeans with velvet slippers because it's out of context. So he would be my next shout.
So Han and his team make the very finest Selvedge jeans. I hope I've pronounced that word correctly. Selvedge. Anyway, we're here outside the black door to their factory. I'm going to pop in and introduce myself. You have a listen to what's coming up in this week's show.
I sat down with the family and I said, I'm selling everything. Okay, I'm going to produce jeans, but it's going to be best jeans in the world.
Am I right in thinking that most of your denim is Selvedge?
Yes. With the old looms, you need to get the quality on. Average time of making a jeans in those countries is about average 20 minutes. Here, it's about 3.5 hours to 4.5 hours. You might need to take off your trousers, and we see...
A number of times people have asked me to take off my trousers in a workshop, Han.
Hi, I am Han Atesh. I am the founder of Blackhorse Lane Ateliers here in East London, Walthamstow.
Okay, Han, so we've just walked in to what instantly is a room I'm in love with, because I see lots of machinists and I see lots of beautiful different materials, lots of jeans.
Well, we are looking at our workshop, which I call it our kitchen, where we make everything. It's very rare in the denim industry where you get fabric, raw material, turn them into a garment, and then, of course, denim world, 95% of the denim is washed. And most denim factories, they have their laundry outside sourced, but we have it here.
Just tell me about this washing thing, because I've never seen something like that, and it's way more than kind of a couple of washing machines. It looks very sophisticated with a lot of pipes and valves.
Because we have all the guts here, pipes.
Oh wow! Okay.
So this is state-of-the-art washing machine where we have oxygen here. We pump the oxygen into ozone separator, and then we pump that ozone into the machine. As you know, the raw denim is really dark navy, but when you buy it on the shops, they are all light blues, different shades of blues. So you use lots of chemicals to get rid of that dark navy into lighter blue. So with this system, you don't use any of those chemicals.
Hang on. You're blowing me mind here. Yeah. You're blowing me mind. So rather than using chemicals to get different shades of the indigo blue, that is what we all recognize when we talk about jeans, you're saying you're using differing amounts of ozone,
which is
oxygen, and the different levels of oxygen that you're pumping into the machine
yes.
give
Also
different
different
types of colours.
We get more than 50 shades of blue, for you to know.
More than 50 shades of blue. I mean, I do love blue. I'm not going to lie. And you're doing that so you don't have to use any chemicals.
Yes.
Wow. I feel like we've got straight into the really heavy nitty-gritty stuff here. Shall we go to the start?
Yes, yes. It's been a journey, and it's still a journey even now. I opened that factory that we were in 1996. So we were producing tailored jackets for ladies, for high street, for people like Akas Kutum, if you are familiar with John Lewis, Marks and Spencer. So close to 2000, gradually, high street demanded cheaper and cheaper garments. I kept some operation in London, in this building, and moved to Turkey to produce even more garments. So where we were producing 5,500 jackets a week, we started producing up to 27, 28,000 garments a week. Okay. Then in 2004, 5 years later, again, my customers, they said, Turkey is expensive, competition is fierce, can you produce it in China? I said, okay. So I went to China, Hong Kong, we created a sourcing office there. So for 2 years, I was flying in and out of China for every other 8 weeks, I would say, and staying 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time. Also, I had a young family. You told me that you have a son, 8 years old. So my daughters were 9 and 12 at the time. Now it's 2008 now, okay? And I feel constantly split within myself and questioning my own values, because I'm away from my children. I don't feel connected to my family. We are cutting corners with fabrics. We are cutting corners with trimmings in order to achieve the price range. The customer is not saying anything, but because I am right in the middle of it, I don't like it. I don't like what I do. And it's when you split within yourself with your own values, it's a very painful process. It's a process that you start, it's a depression actually. For me, it was a depression. So as you can see, we have rolls and rolls and rolls of fabric, and 75% of our fabrics, they come from Japan.
Why Japan?
They're a craft nation, and when they produce something, they don't just produce it as a mass production. They produce it as high quality with a difference. And we as makers, we feel that. We know that.
Do you export much to Japan?
Yes. Yeah. We have an agent there, and we have customers there.
Japan often comes up on this show. It's really interesting. I feel like I should write a thank you card to Japan.
Well, maybe second stage of your show could be Japan manufacturing.
That sounds nice. I'd like to go.
Yeah, I think it's a nice idea. Can I come and be your assistant, please?
Okay, it's a deal. Am I right in thinking that most of your denim is, and you've very kindly written it out on the wall there to help me, Selvedge
Yes.
denim, is that right? Selvedge?
Selvedge, yeah.
I pronounced that correctly, I hope.
Yeah, lots of people call it salvage. Some people call it self-edge. But we are so used to hearing it all sorts of ways.
You're telling me I couldn't get it wrong, that's why. You're being kind.
Right. No, but...
What's so special about it?
So, if you look at, you are looking at two different fabric here. One is, we call it full width, modern loom.
How wide is that roll? That's probably like 1.5 meters, maybe?
So it's exactly 1.6 meters, yeah. and this is 80 centimeter, 80, okay? The difference between this and that is this is old looms. With old looms, the width of the looms were narrow. It's a bit more slower, a bit more temperamental. Sometimes it breaks cotton because there are no electronic sensors. It's more mechanical. With the modern looms, because you have so much electronic eyes and sensors, you could be faster, but also you could use less quality yarn.
You can get away with a poorer quality yarn.
Poorer quality yarn to produce much more metrages. But with the old looms, it's not that easy. You need to get the quality yarn, and
Otherwise, presumably, it breaks too much.
it breaks too much, and then you don't produce anything.
Was there a moment where perhaps you were in China or Hong Kong and you suddenly, I mean, I don't know if it comes like this, but you're suddenly, I'm away from my family and I'm producing things which I know aren't the quality that I want. Was there that moment, or was it a more gradual
It was a gradual process. So there was about moment in Guangzhou, where it's about 300 miles from Hong Kong. We were in a factory where this Chinese supervisor, he said he knew that I loved green tea. It's tea time, do you want to have green tea? I said yes. He took me his dormitories, because in China, lots of people those days, I'm talking about 2007, 2008, people came from small villages to small towns into these big metropoles, where they, more or less 11 months of the year, they slept in these bunkers, like a military or school. So he had a campfire, those little gas campfire. He was heating water, and he asked me, how do I want my tea? I said, not so strong. And I was watching him doing that, and I was saying, oh, poor guy, he's away from his kids for 11 months. Actually, I am away from my kids too. I'm no different than him. Yes, I'm staying in a 5-star hotel, but we are doing the same job. We are earning for our families, away from our kids. So that was about moments, and I decided I'm going to get out of this, because I didn't recognize who I was anymore. So then what I did, I came back from that trip. I sat down with the family and I said, I'm selling everything. I'm not going to be in the fashion industry, because I'm disgusted with what I do, how I do things.
Last 30, 40 years, mindset has changed. I'm sure if you ask your dad, your mom, your grandparents, anything they bought, they planned for it, they saved it, and then they bought it. And I remember my grandfather's coats. When I looked at it after 10, 15 years, they looked immaculate, because they looked after it as well. It was an investment. And I think where the world is heading environmentally, I think we need to look at everything as it's an investment. It's an investment for yourself, buying good quality, but also it's an investment for the future of the world. Very often we don't think that cotton comes from the ground, and sometimes when you go to high street, you find really cheap, affordable, substandard jeans. Of course it's attractive because it's reasonably priced, but actually real cost of that is to the workers and to the environment.
Yeah, there's hidden costs that are not being included within that price. And it comes back to that point you were just making there about kind of the importance of having some emotional investment in the pieces you wear.
Fashion industry, we really need to look after this planet in a way that because disaster is happening in front of our eyes. You know, we have children, we have grandchildren maybe.
How old do you think I look?
No, I was talking about me, not you. I was wishing I would love to have grandchildren.
Because of my love for food and fortunately wine as well, we decided to open a neighborhood fine dining restaurant in Stoke Newington in East London, North East London. It was all great. I had a really beautiful restaurant. I learned so much from it. And also I mentioned that I did, and I still do psychotherapy. And in one of the group therapy, the theme was, how do you dip into your creativity in your everyday life? You know, we all work from different walks of life, we do different things, but we all are creatives. And how are you in touch with your creativity in your day-to-day life? When the question came to me, I had a really beautiful restaurant, but I wasn't the head chef. Head chef was sitting on the creative seat. I said, okay, I need to think about this. So this time it was 2009, and when I was going through where I felt more alive creatively, when I was making garments in this factory. Okay, we still had the factory, I didn't sell it, okay? So I decided, okay, I think I need to go back. I need to make garments again in order to be in touch with my own creativity. I was going through what could it be, what could I make? Because I'm a tailor, but I always hated my own jeans, the quality of jeans. I was never satisfied with how they were made. And also last, I would say 20 years, there is a craft beer revolution happening in this country. You know, you had your beer, you had your Carlsberg, you have your lots of different beers. But when the local production came out, you realize actually locally produced beer is better quality somehow. Yeah, you pay a bit extra. So I said, what's the beer of the fashion industry where everybody drinks beer? I mean, 99% of I thought it's the jeans. And it's also like the beer, it's made badly. We said, okay, I'm going to produce jeans, but it's going to be best jeans in the world. Because I'm a tailor, I can do it.
Okay, tell me about what we're looking at here. We've looked at the material.
So we are at our cutting table where we cut and chop.
I recognise why you have all of these cardboard patterns up here. I've seen this in a few places.
Yeah,
just rows and rows of cardboard patterns.
So we employ about 10, 12 people here. It's a small workshop. It's not a factory actually. If you go to mega factories, everything is digitized, and everything also they cut the fabric with laser as well. But in the UK, we believe that scale of economies, we can't compete with that because Turkey, China does that very well, and their labor cost is cheaper than us. So what we decided, we're going to go back to basics. Everything will be handmade, hand cut, hand sewn, hand marked. So in fact, if you buy any high street jeans, average time of making a jeans in those countries, Turkey, Morocco, Mexico, China, is about average 20 minutes per pair, 20 minutes, okay? Here, it's about 3.5 hours to 4.5 hours because we really slow the process. Of course, most important part of what we do here, everything we do is tailored finish. In order for me to to explain that, you might need to take off your trousers. And we see...
A number of times people have asked me to take off my trousers in a workshop, Han.
So he specialized on flies, and our fly techniques are so clean. I'll show you here so that. So for example, when you look at that fly, you don't see any unfinished edges. I'm gonna show you later on a pair from the high street. Even premium brands, they don't produce it that way anymore, because this is a forgotten art.
And it presumably takes both skill and time.
Yes. This was patented in 1877 in the States, this technique. But in the 30s, it's discarded because it was a slow process.
And that is one of the examples of when you talk about tailoring your jeans.
Yes.
That would be an example of what you mean.
Or we take our time to put the pocket back into the seam and then stitch it so that there is a lovely binding here. Because also as a team, we want to say, yeah, we are a special team and we produce one of the best jeans in the world, arguably.
There's no arguing. No one's going to argue with you. I'm fascinated about you taking the tailor's eye to a pair of jeans, and for example, you mentioned, kind of looking into old patents, the way that they used to make them, and kind of applying those techniques to the jeans that you're making. Tell me about how you did that, how you researched that, how you brought that in to your work.
Well, it was accidental, actually. So there is this book called Wild West, The Jeans of Wild West. This American guy, his first name is Michael, second name escapes me. He went into old, unused mines, tin mines, gold mines, and start digging these half-rotten garments. And with that, he photographed them, and then he goes to United States Patent House and looks at the sewing techniques and finds the patented version patterns of that trousers or shirts or stitching technique. He found these half-rotten garments, beautifully finished, no unfinished edges, it's all tucked in. So when I saw that, I was amazed. It's like, wow, that's why I hated my jeans, because they were full of unfinished edges. And as a tailor, when they train you, when you finish a garment, if it's unlined, everything has to tucked in so that the customer, when they open it, it's a high standard. So then I realized, yes, we are coming from a heritage. That's the reason I was this. After I started Blackhorse Lane, I discovered that book. Then I realized, wow, okay. I was so relieved. I'm not mad. I come from a certain heritage.
You are definitely not mad. How did you know people were going to buy them? How did you know that all of this extra investment, all of these little tweaks, these refinements that you're putting into jeans, which presumably cost money, how did you know people would actually be buying them?
I didn't know, but what I saw in the hospitality industry with craft beer, and also another one was the high-end burger joints. You had your McDonald's, you had your Burger Kings. But about 15 years ago, you started having lots of burger joints, high quality meat. They knew where the cow came from, which farm, even the name. The animals' welfare was important. And those burgers were costing 10, 12 pounds rather than $3.99. But people still buying it. So I thought, okay, there is that, hospitality industry is managing that. And it was a risk, but I really trust our psyche as a society. We have this sense or curiosity of wanting to do better. We all have that. It's the system that we, not the individuals, but it's the system who it lets us down. But when you go to individual level, we have that high standard in us. And I believe in people, if that makes sense.
You're a very smart man, aren't you?
I'm not sure.
You are. You're taking other industries, you're observing trends, and you're applying them to the industry that you love.
I'm copying. I'm copying.
Well, I think that's doing
I'm copying.
I think that's doing you a huge disservice.
So this is our NW8 garment. It's a big size. I think this is size 38, I have a feeling. 40, sorry.
I mean, that does look a big pair of jeans.
Yeah.
I say that in the very nicest way.
So this is, we call it rigid jeans, roll jeans, and it's a Japanese fabric.
It's a beautiful dark blue, that one, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's gorgeous. But the exciting thing with rigid fabric is the day you start wearing them, it will become truly yours, because all the whiskers, all the whatever you put in your pockets, gradually you will mark it as yours.
And you can literally see yourself being imprinted onto the jeans. See your life visually being imprinted onto your jeans.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all have different bone structure, muscle structure. So when you start wearing a rigid raw denim, you know, it's very unique, because we are all unique in that sense.
I'm not going to ask you if you're proud of Blackhorse Lane Ateliers, because the truth is, you must be.
I am proud.
So I'm not going to ask that
hide.
question.
I'm not going to hide that.
I'm going to ask you a slightly different one, which is, are you proud of the journey you've taken in terms of the transformation you've made in your personal life and your career?
I would say yes. But where I am really, really proud that when I started, I was on my own. It felt like it was my journey. 10 years later, we have our own community where I feel I'm not on my own. And when we receive reviews or when we get letters from the customers, that's when I'm proud most. When you have your own community, there is an incredible sense of responsibility, accountability. So I'm proud of that, being accountable on what I do. That gives me immense purpose. I want to do it better because people trust me. I cannot let them down.
You mentioned how the kids were a real driving force. Those were a real driving force for you to reflect on what you'd done, where you were going, and how you were going to change your direction of travel. Yeah. Are they still influencing you now?
Absolutely, yeah. But can I look into your question a little bit? Because when you said kids were the main driver, I think kids, missing my kids were the main driver. The hole that I had inside me was the missing driver. Wanting to have more meaningful relationship is constant. And I think that's the main driver. And I really want to have more meaningful relationship with, definitely my kids, but also my friends or the community that we live in. But first time in my life, I love what I do. And I don't do it for money. Excitement is not diminishing, it's getting more, I'm more and more excited. Do I miss my kids? They are 28 and 25 now. I do miss them like a dog. I really miss them. Yeah, it's.
But presumably you get to see them. Do they come home now and then?
They do. One lives in Europe. She's an artist, and the other one, she lives in London, and we see each other once a month or twice a month. Yeah.
Han, I came here to chat to you about jeans, and the conversation was so much more.
Well, we did talk about jeans.
It was so much more than that. Thank you enormously for showing us around, but also thanking you so much for sharing your story and for the extraordinary work you are doing and are going to continue to do at Blackhorse Lane. Thank you.
Thank you for visiting us. Really appreciate it.
So many leaves being blown off the trees from that storm. Okay, into the shed of greatness we go. Number 24 on our list of the greatest products we make in Britain, the Selvedge Jeans by Blackhorse Lane Ateliers. My huge thanks to Han and the whole team there for showing us around their workshop, or as they like to call it, their kitchen. If you've got any thoughts or any suggestions, do say hello. Find us on Instagram, The Factory Next Door, or on LinkedIn, or just email steve@thefactorynextdoor.com. Right then, that's a wrap for this episode. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're happy like Han. Until next time.